12 years old is the average age of first romantic feelings, according to UNICEF. That means kids are breaking the love law before hitting puberty. 75% of people under 25 report experiencing toxic or emotionally dependent relationships at least once. Love hurts, and it hurts early. 2.1 million people per year get married before age 18 globally, mostly girls. Young love or just tradition? 21 years old is the average age of a person's first major heartbreak, according to multiple psychological studies. And it often defines their trust and attachment style for life. One man in Japan legally married the virtual pop star Hatsune Miku in 2018. He was 35, but he says he fell in love with her at 15. We have set up an artificial intelligence to explore the question, should love be banned until the age of 25? Today, we will hear two opposing sides. One arguing that banning love protects emotional development and future stability, and the other defending love as a fundamental freedom that should never be restricted by age. Here's how our debate will proceed. Opening statements, argument development, rebuttals, questions and answers. Don't skip ahead, watch the entire exchange and decide for yourself in the comments who made the stronger argument. If you're interested in the topic of debates, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and take part in the subscriber-only poll to help determine the winner.
Love hits hard. When you fall for someone too young, your brain isn't finished wiring itself. So feelings can run the show while common sense takes a back seat. Teen break UPS can feel like the end of the world, pushing some into anxiety, depression, or worse. Science backs this up. The part of the brain that handles impulse control and long-term planning isn't fully ready until around 25. So why not press pause on serious romance until then? Think of it like training wheels. With fewer heartbreaks and distractions, young adults could use their late teens and early 20s to figure out who they are, make solid friendships, learn new skills, and build careers. We'd likely see fewer teen pregnancies, less drama, and lighter loads on mental health services. People will say a love ban sounds crazy, too strict, too big brother. But we already set age limits for driving, drinking, even voting, because those things carry huge consequences. Love can be just as life-changing. Waiting until 25 doesn't kill romance. It just gives everyone time to grow up first. So, when love finally kicks in, it's a choice made with a clear head and a steady heart.
Love isn't just butterflies and heartbreak songs. It's one of the core ways humans learn to be, well, human. Real-world crushes, first dates, late-night talks, and even messy break UPS teach empathy, communication, and resilience in a way no classroom ever could. If we slam the door on romance until 25, we risk stunting those lessons right when they matter most. Teens who fall hard for the first time discover how to set boundaries, say sorry, compromise, and pick themselves up after disappointment. Those skills translate directly into college roommates, future marriages, and the workplace. Look around, plenty of lasting partnerships began in high school or university. Ask your parents, neighbors, or half the couples in long-running wedding columns. Banning young love would label every one of those stories a mistake, when in truth many turned out healthy and supportive. What people need isn't a legal barricade, it's guidance. Imagine comprehensive classes on emotional intelligence, consent, and conflict resolution starting in middle school. Give young people safe spaces to talk about feelings, mismatched expectations, and red flags. Empower them, don't police them. Yes, early relationships can go off the rails, but so can friendships, sports rivalries, and first jobs. We don't outlaw those, we teach kids how to navigate them. Slapping an age limit on love reduces a rich, nuanced part of human growth to a bureaucratic checkbox. People mature at different speeds, shaped by culture, family, and lived experience. Instead of a blanket ban, let's meet young hearts where they are, offering tools, not walls, so love becomes an education, not a forbidden fruit.
Early romance is more than a thrill. It is a hands-on workshop, where people refine the social muscles they will use for the rest of their lives. Developmental psychologists agree that the clumsy mistakes of first crushes, awkward texts, jealous flare UPS, heartfelt apologies, are exactly the experiences that turn abstract lessons about empathy and boundaries into lived wisdom. Telling a 16-year-old to wait almost a decade before navigating those dynamics is like asking someone to study swimming from a textbook and then dive straight into the ocean at 25. Real learning requires real water. On the question of freedom, love sits at the center of personal autonomy. Governments already overstep when they dictate what books we read or what beliefs we hold. Extending that reach into who we may feel affection for is a line too far. Policing emotion would demand intrusive surveillance of messages, social media, and even school hallways, an expensive bureaucracy that chills self-expression and erodes civil liberties. History shows that broad moral prohibitions breed black markets and secrecy, not genuine compliance. The likely outcome would be a generation forced to hide relationships rather than abandon them, amplifying risk rather than reducing it. Healthy young relationships often act as emotional shock absorbers. Longitudinal research from the National Institute of Mental Health indicates that teens in supportive partnerships exhibit lower cortisol spikes during exams and report higher academic motivation. Connection, far from derailing progress, can anchor it. Conversely, social isolation is a known predictor of depression, substance abuse, and suicidal ideation. Banning love would remove one of the most readily available buffers against those dangers, exactly when resilience is still forming. From a fiscal standpoint, the math is stark. Launching an enforcement regime detecting, investigating, and punishing under 25 romance would cost billions in administrative overhead, legal proceedings, and appeals. Those funds would stretch far further if invested in comprehensive relationship skills curricula, free counseling services, and community mentorship programs. Empowerment scales. Prohibition bloats. Finally, a sweeping age ban would magnify social inequities. Many cultures celebrate engagement or marriage well before 25. Branding those customs illicit would marginalize entire communities and ignite cultural backlash. LGBTQ+ youth, who often rely on peers for acceptance that families sometimes deny, would lose crucial lifelines. Justice demands solutions that lift everyone, not blunt instruments that hit vulnerable groups first and hardest. Providing universal access to education on consent, emotional intelligence, and safe intimacy respects diversity while promoting well-being. Banning love until 25 sounds protective at first glance, but it trades the messy, necessary work of guidance for the false simplicity of a legal wall. Real safety is teaching young people how to steer, not locking the steering wheel. Love is unpredictable, occasionally painful, and utterly essential for growth. The better path is to equip youth to navigate it wisely, not forbid the journey altogether.
Young love is one of life's earliest laboratories for emotional intelligence. Through the highs of infatuation and the lows of heartbreak, adolescents learn in real time how to read feelings, negotiate boundaries, and care for another person, all foundational skills that no textbook can fully teach. Removing that laboratory would leave young adults untested and uncertain when real commitments finally appear. Beyond the developmental angle lies the issue of personal freedom. Choosing whom to love is among the most intimate human decisions, woven into our cultural stories, spiritual traditions, and basic civil rights. Turning affection into a matter for law enforcement would invite an intrusive bureaucracy that governments are neither equipped nor entitled to manage. Attempts to police emotions would inevitably spawn black market dating apps, hidden relationships, and a culture of secrecy where honesty would serve as self-incrimination. Health research consistently finds benefits in supportive young relationships. Partners who encourage each other to study for exams, skip risky parties, or visit a counselor provide a buffer against stress that can brighten academic trajectories and protect mental well-being. Far from derailing success, these bonds can anchor motivation and resilience. The logistical cost of outlawing romance tells its own cautionary tale. Enforcing a ban would demand surveillance technology, investigative staff, courts, and detention resources, money siphoned from programs that actually foster healthy development, such as school counselors, mentorship networks, and public health outreach. Finally, any universal prohibition would collide with cultural diversity and deepen inequality. In many communities, early courtship is cherished tradition, while LGBTQ+ youth often rely on peer relationships for acceptance that families may withhold. Blanket restrictions would criminalize customs, stigmatize vulnerable groups, and ignite backlash. The more humane and effective approach is comprehensive education, robust curricula on consent, emotional literacy, and conflict resolution, so that young people of every background gain the tools to build safe, respectful partnerships instead of being told to wait by decree.
The opponent argues that early romance is a vital classroom for empathy and resilience, that freedom of affection is a basic right, and that supportive young relationships boost mental health. We agree that love can teach, but teaching is only effective when students have the cognitive tools to process the lesson. Brain development science is clear. Impulse control, risk assessment, and long-term planning don't settle into reliable gear until the mid-20s. Without that neurological footing, the classroom of love often becomes a demolition derby where lessons come at the cost of depression, derailed academics, and life-altering mistakes. The opponent frames a ban as government overreach, yet society already sets age thresholds for activities with significant consequences: driving, drinking, voting, signing contracts. Romantic entanglements can be just as consequential, leading to unplanned parenthood, financial obligations, or abusive dynamics. Age limits are not tyranny. They are guardrails acknowledging developmental realities. The claim that supportive relationships buffer stress overlooks data, showing most teen romances are anything but stable. Breakup grief, jealousy, and social media drama frequently spike cortisol levels far beyond any protective benefit. Public health statistics on self-harm and teen suicide often cite relationship turmoil as a leading trigger. Removing the source of turmoil is a direct way to lower that risk. Enforcement, the opponent says, would be costly and intrusive. Yet the existing costs of teen pregnancies, intimate partner violence, and mental health crises already drain billions from public budgets. A clear legal standard, much like age of consent laws, doesn't require constant surveillance, only enforceable boundaries. Most teens respect age limits on alcohol, not because police hover in every kitchen, but because the rule is culturally reinforced. Cultural diversity concerns are real, but they cut both ways. Many traditions also recognize rites of passage before granting marital privileges. A love pause policy simply aligns modern neuroscience with a long-standing principle. Adulthood comes in stages. Communities could still celebrate friendship, courtship rituals, and family bonds without plunging young hearts into commitments they are biologically unequipped to handle. Education, not prohibition, the opponent insists. We say the two are not mutually exclusive. Teach healthy relationship skills, absolutely, but pair that education with a reasonable waiting period so those skills mature alongside the brain's architecture. Love isn't banned forever. It's deferred until individuals can choose with a fully calibrated compass.
Pro-ban side leans heavily on brain science, warning that immature prefrontal cortices turn teenage romance into reckless chaos. Yet the same neuroscience also shows that brains develop through experience. Shielding young adults from complex emotions delays, rather than accelerates, the wiring of impulse control and empathy. A society that bans love until 25 might create older bodies with younger hearts, people suddenly expected to handle commitment without any practice. The proposal likens romance to drinking or driving, but unlike alcohol limits or licensing tests, love is not an optional activity we can suspend with paperwork. It is a spontaneous, often unavoidable pull. When authority declares that pull illegal, it pushes it into secrecy. Hidden relationships mean hidden abuse, untreated pregnancies, and silence around consent, exactly the scenarios pro-ban side claims to prevent. Pro-ban side cites mental health crises tied to teen break UPS. The solution is not to forbid relationships but to normalize emotional first aid, teach teens how to navigate loss, identify toxic patterns, and seek support. A ban removes the stimulus but also the chance to learn coping skills that will be crucial later. Emotional resilience is built by weathering storms, not by living under a glass dome. Financial arguments about public health costs overlook the price of enforcing a ban. Investigations, legal battles, and incarceration carry their own economic and human toll. History shows moral prohibitions inflate black markets and court dockets while barely denting the targeted behavior. Education and accessible healthcare produce better fiscal outcomes than punitive measures. Finally, pro-ban side frames culture as adjustable to neuroscience, but cultures are ecosystems, not monoliths. Mandating a universal love hiatus would fracture traditions, erase rites of passage, and disproportionately punish communities where early marriage is tied to economic stability or religious identity. Real policy respects plurality by offering tools, comprehensive sex education, free counseling, confidential support hotlines, so every community can guide its youth without criminalizing affection. In short, postponing love by law trades visible drama for hidden risk, stunts emotional growth, and burdens society with enforcement costs. Empowerment through education and support is the path that honors both science and freedom.
Moderator question. If each side could implement one concrete policy tomorrow to support their position, what would it be and why?
We would establish a nationally recognized relationship license, available only after the age of 25. Much like a driver's license, it would require passing a basic course in emotional intelligence, consent, and financial literacy. This policy respects individual freedom. Anyone can apply once they reach the neurological maturity mark, while providing a clear, enforceable boundary that protects young people during their most impressionable years.
We would roll out comprehensive, evidence-based relationship education starting in middle school and continuing through college. The curriculum would cover communication skills, consent, conflict resolution, and mental health resources. This approach equips young people to navigate love safely at any age, honors personal freedom, and strengthens society by fostering emotionally literate citizens rather than criminalizing natural human experience.
Thanks for watching. Now it's your turn. Let us know in the comments who you think won this debate. Don't forget to cast your vote and tell us why. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. More debates are coming your way. See you next time.